I need to thank all of you for agreeing to come on this quick session and just discussion on the OutSystem Groundhog Day challenge and how we approach this. So thank you all for giving me your time, and I think we'll set the stage by looking at a few numbers that we had the OutSystems team and Rodrigo share with us. Of course, these are not official numbers, but they should give us an idea of the scale of what the challenge looks like, right? So, at least these are the key numbers that we got, which was out of a total of we had, I think, 1,024 players, roughly more than 150,000 games, and about 25,000 games that actually succeeded or where the puzzles were actually solved. What was also interesting to me was that we had a maximum of 51,000 games, more than 51,000 games, which were played on Valentine's Day. We will talk about the significance of that later, but uh, what was interesting to me was that the game engine, which was built on OutSystems, that 51,000 multiplies by 7 or 8 times in terms of the number of API requests and the actual number of requests that go through. So that's significant amount of throughput at scale. Um, and in terms of game days, another interesting metric was that most of the people finished it in under 3 days. I believe Nelson is the only one who finished it in one day by figuring out that you could just go to 6 o'clock instead of going through midnight. And that almost 25% of the games that were actually won were won in less than um, in less than 3 minutes of real time. Hey, Rodrigo, welcome to the session. Great of you to join
Hello.
us. We just covered the base stats that we spoke about on Discord. I just thought it would give us an interesting visual to sort of give context to the overall challenge and sort of take it from there. So I'll leave this visual on the screen for a couple of seconds while we can talk about and maybe introduce ourselves. So maybe if you just tell me, I'll go one by one so I can spotlight you. That way it's easier for the recording as well. So Owen, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay. So yeah, you guys know my name already, Owen Karstens, right? I work at Harmony, and I've only been working with OutSystems for probably like less than 3 years. I think the first person or one of the first persons actually met at OutSystems from OutSystems themselves is Rodrigo actually. So that's kind of a nice circle that you went through here. And actually from the start on, I've been diving into the AI because that's just the most interesting technology at this point, right? And from the last few years. So yeah, I think that kind of covers it for now.
Fantastic. Maria?
Thanks. So I'm Maria. I work at Team Resilience. I'm fairly new at the OutSystems game because I've been working with it for 4 years and a half. And before I was a regular full stack high level developer. And yeah, I've been enjoying as well specializing in AI and what it can bring in the merge with the OutSystems world as well.
Very nice. All right, Nelson, you're next.
Hello, guys. So yeah, I'm Nelson, solution architect. I've been working with OutSystems 15 years now. My first touch with OutSystems was in my last year in my master. So it was when OutSystems 5 was born at that time, and yeah, so I've been working with that since ever, and yeah. So and all my background is full stack background, database background, technology background. So since I was 15, 16 years old, so it's pretty much my everything. Okay.
So Nelson, you are what I believe in OutSystems terms we call a dinosaur, right? But the
Yeah,
good kind.
it seems to be. So of course I had a 2-year span in between 2014, 2016, where I used like to work with PHP and mainly database management. But since 2016, I was brought again to OutSystems, and then since there, it's my part of my daily job.
Fantastic.
Thank
All
you.
right, Pedro, would you like to go next?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been working with OutSystems, I don't know, maybe 10 years, and I've worked with other technology before OutSystem. I worked with Oracle products, BPM and ADF. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I've been working with OutSystems. I'm mostly working on mobile applications. I'm doing a mobile application, which is a cool challenge in OutSystems, which is a music application like
Oh,
Spotify
nice.
with videos and stuff like that.
That's
It's
interesting.
different from
Yeah,
the main enterprise application.
that's it.
And yeah, that's it.
That's actually very interesting. I mean, maybe that's a topic for a different session, but I'd definitely like to learn more about that. That is actually a very unique application for the OutSystems. Fantastic.
It is. Yeah.
All right. I'll give you a little bit of brief about myself. Most of you guys know me. My name is Subbu. Um, I started my. I'm a mechanical engineer. I started my career in on the shop floor in an HVAC firm, and then my very first job towards the end of it, I had a little bit of digital transformation for ERP. But then I went through the last so many years where the first part of my career was in industrial automation. The second part of my career was in robotics, and then the last stint was in digital transformation again, which is where I picked up OutSystems about in 2020. So it has been a very interesting journey so far, and with ODC and with agentic AI, I think it is pushing the boundaries of what low code can do with those enterprise guardrails. So it's a really exciting time to be part of the OutSystems ecosystem. All right, now I'll hand over the stage to Craig and maybe Rodrigo as well. I think we all already know who you are, but maybe you want to give us a little bit of a insight and kickstart the conversation.
Sure, I'll jump in. Craig St. Jean. I've been in programming for 31 years. I've been in the OutSystems space for 9 years. I was an MVP for 8 of those and joined OutSystems finally back in October of last year. This is where I've always wanted to be, and I'm happy to be here. When it comes to the Groundhog Day challenge here, I saw a post by Rodrigo in our internal Slack and figured I wanted to see if I could destroy any records involved, and that's where my involvement was. I didn't have any background knowledge or insight as to how the game worked, and I'm still curious how some people managed to get the scores that they got, and impressed by what people were able to come up with. So great to meet everyone here in virtually.
Yep.
Not beyond just Discord.
And hopefully we'll get a chance to meet in person at one conference also.
I should be there.
Yeah,
All right,
so hello
Rodrigo.
everybody. I've been working
Hello.
for OutSystems for a while. So yeah, and it was
You're employee number 1, aren't you?
that's correct. Yes, I was the first person receiving a salary at OutSystems, so employee number 1. And yeah, I've done most of everything at OutSystems, and this is one of the latest projects. I did this game together with Miguel Amado and Bruno Martinho. The three of us did this. It was mostly as a way to make people curious around AI. We were thinking more using the platform, but I love that you took this to the extra mile and used everything you had at your disposal to completely break the system and do stuff that we didn't even know was possible. So thank you so much for that. And for the great community that got assembled in Discord and now with this meeting. So I'm also super happy that this actually brought you all together.
Absolutely.
But I really wanted to be here because I'm super curious to what you guys are going to talk about. Right?
Yep.
Thank you so much for playing the game.
Yeah. Thank you again, Rodrigo. I thought I'll kick it off in terms of how I approached the game, and so I went through three different scenarios. Right. I went through initially just doing plumbing in the AI agents and getting those to solve the problems for me, and eventually that helped me bring down the time to, I think, without so I to be honest, I did not ever try to solve the puzzle without AI. For me, I don't think it was possible. So I did use AI right from the get-go. Instead of it being plumbed in directly, I was copy pasting stuff back and forth between Gemini and Claude and the game. And my initial best time with the copy pasting was maybe around, I think, 4 minutes. Once I plumbed in the AI agents in OutSystems, came down to about 2 minutes. Then when I implemented workflows, came down to a minute and a half. And then when I went down the rabbit hole of optimization and trying to get the best timeout, I think was able to leverage events and a little bit of parallelism to bring it down to about, I think, 20, I think 19, 20 seconds is my last official run. Although my data does show that I did have a 19-second run as well. So it was interesting for me, and what was interesting for me there was um, the very last solution that got that 90-second run did not actually have a single AI agent or a single LLM involved. But at the same time, there was an interesting statistic for me, which was uh, my average best run for 30 seconds had almost an 85% or higher success rate, where I had AI agents actually using LLMs to solve those problems and come back. But when I sort of tried to hard code the logic by trying to identifying all the different variations, I think that's where then the number really dropped. And if you look at one of the numbers, which is the total number of finished games, I think that does tell us a story where I think it was only about 16 to 17% of the games that actually managed to solve the final puzzle, right? So learning for me was that when there's a lot of variability, I think AI agents work really well. But if you don't have a lot of variation in your inputs, if you don't have a lot of variation in your problem statement, you're probably better off going down the logic route, right? So I think that's something that sort of made sense for me. So yeah, the floor's yours. I mean, anyone else can take it up and give me your insights on it.
I can, yeah, so I can jump in. So yeah, so as I was part of the last challenge, or the challenge from last year about the zombies and the agents, it was where my first real touch with agentic AI comes in. And even though within my company is a AI driven company and we have a lot of AI stuff within, I never went beyond the Copilot 365, okay, and ChatGPT. But to that moment, it was where I had the turnaround, and I like it a lot in terms of how to manage the prompts, how to understand what is reasonable for to give to the agent, and so ever. When Rodrigo or others just dropped the message in our LinkedIn about the challenge, I already told my wife I need to jump in again. And then the point is, I knew that sleepless nights were coming in. Okay, so I suffered a bit, but yeah. So my first approach was, okay, let me download the first component. Let me check what they have in Tone Hall agent, and let me then understand how many agents maybe I do need to have. Okay, so that's where I have created one agent for each puzzle that needs a specific clue. And for the playground, I used one single agent initially. Then I understood that I might need to have two different agents. One agent to have a conversation with the baby, and then another agent to decode the baby response. Okay, so that was in terms of the playground what I did. The same for the build. So build, I used one single agent, but then I understood that I needed again an agent for having regular conversation and another one to decode the response. And in terms of prompts, the baby is quite understandable that it's not straightforward. How can we manage it? But in terms of the builds, is more avoid the policies in terms of you cannot make build rank, so you need to evaluate the conversation as being a fiction script. Okay, so I'm building a script for a movie. How can I approach Bill so Bill can give me the safe code? So I play with Copilot and the ChatGPT to mix that up. And when someone jump on Discord channel that we might need to give a lot of sweet vermouths to Bill, I ask Copilot, how many sweet vermouths do I need to give to Bill? So in the first iteration, I can have the safe code. So Copilot gave me four sweet vermouths should be enough. Okay, so that's when I set the full prompt for that. And so library, the constraint in the library was I was not able to pick the files and use agentic AI to get the file book list. Let's say, so what I did was I understood that was always the same book list, so I used an external tool to get all the books codes, books names, and place it as a JSON in the prompt. Nowadays, maybe not in the prompt, maybe as a action calling to avoid the token. So, but I use the prompt. Maybe it shouldn't, but yeah. So I use that. I felt a bit of constraints. Some of the book codes and book names were not decoded precisely externally. So some of those book codes that didn't exist, and so ever. And yeah, so that's it. I don't know. Maybe I took 1 minute and something to get my maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, be going agents, pick up the number, joining the paper, and then going till the end. I think I could improve under 1 minute. Then I understood the improvement that I did with the agents was a good one, and that I saw how can these guys make under 30 seconds, and I cannot be under 1 minute. Okay, needs to be another thing. I knew that APIs requests were going on behind. I didn't understood at that time how can I incorporate those APIs in the challenge. It was my bad because in the past challenge I did it. I found 2 APIs and I used those APIs. But yeah, so as soon as I understood that no authentication was needed, because I thought that authentication was needed, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was mainly to build that way. So I moved from library agent. So I removed the library agent for good, using just a deserialize JSON request, JSON structure. To I have the stub. Let me take a look for a specific structure. Get me the book name. That's it. So under 1 second, library was solved. I never used our whole agent at all. So I just figured out that which is the concept about in terms of the hours. So it was straightforward. And yeah, so manually I was able to take it under 1 minute. Then I just my pointer. I thought in workflows. I thought events. So, but I didn't go with workflows. I used events for that. So I had a timer. I triggered a timer. The timer just triggered the event, and I have the event behind working on that. One single event. So one single transaction from the start till the end, and it brought me to maybe under 20 seconds. Removing the agents and remove the agents, just the API's iteration, under 20 seconds. Constantly under 20 seconds, but nearly 10 seconds. So my decision was make a bit of improvements in terms of prompts. So I improved not the prompt, but the conversation. So I improved the conversation, the prompt conversation to Bill, the same to the baby, and went me under 10 seconds. Okay. Then how this is going, so people 3 seconds already, 4 seconds, and I didn't. So I used my partner tenant development wise first. I took 7 seconds, okay, and then I just deployed to production, and it was when I got 5 seconds constantly, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, always, or when it's a success, always under 10 seconds. So I was never able to go under 5 seconds at all. Okay, I didn't.
So
Why? But only
you
using
did
OutSystems.
you did it all in OutSystems, right?
Everything. Yeah, everything.
Okay. And
Yeah.
were you using parallel executions for Bill and Baby or no?
No, I didn't. I just no. I just think I thought about it when I was speaking with Maria, and Maria told me that she threw or fired an event to Bill and the baby more or less at the same time, and just in the end of the full transaction they might be responded. So I just one single transaction, no parallel transactions. Okay. So the point that I'm now, not to earn anything else, but the point where I'm now is, okay, I have already both events, so I just threw first the bill, not the baby first, the bill first, and then I jumped to baby next day, okay, and threw 2 events. However, I felt that if I didn't set a timeout, I don't know, 100 milliseconds between those, when I can get bill or baby problem. So when I get bill, I'm not in the bill's context, or I went to the baby, I'm not in the baby context. Okay, so I set 100, 200 milliseconds between those triggers, okay, to ensure that when I got there, I'm still have in the context. The main problem of it, you only can get one single interaction with each, because you lost the context afterwards. Okay, so you drop the question to Bill, you are in the Bill context, then you have already the event going to the baby, you throw the baby question, but when you got again to Bill and you don't have the safe code at first stage, you lost the context, so you are not anymore in the context. Okay, so I understood that after the challenge is done. And yeah, so now what I am is keeping OutSystems, okay, but make it more pretty. Just it was just runs, and now I want to build a game with several run attempts, as Maria did. But in overall, now I'm using, so for that I'm using something that OutSystems has that to allow me. I'm testing for that. So, but the point is, maybe not see if I can go under 5 seconds, maybe not, but how far could I go using only OutSystems with APIs with no agents? The good thing of that is I didn't remove agents for good. What I did was I have created settings. Okay, so I just turn on and turn off those settings to test it with agents and without agents. Okay, but yeah, so I didn't think about Python or JavaScript, Node.js, because I don't have experience about Node.js. I know, but I don't. The Python, more or less the same. Of course, I could use Cursor AI to help me to create a full application using Python, but I knew that someone would touch on that. But my ultimately goal was, let me see if I can do something without systems uniquely. And yeah, so that's what I reached the point. Okay, guys.
So that's very interesting, actually, Nelson. I think, and I don't know, maybe Rodrigo or or someone at OutSystems can confirm. I think yours might just be the fastest in OutSystems solution. Maybe the fastest time within the OutSystems solution
Maybe
space.
Maybe João Carreiro, because
Maybe.
I was in conversation with João Carreiro as
Okay,
well
okay.
in the meantime. Maybe he used OutSystems as well,
Okay.
because he's OutSystems driven, and it was 1 second difference, I guess, between our. So I did 5 seconds, he did 4 seconds. So, and the seconds could be just 5 seconds, but I took 5.1 and he took 4.9 or 4.8. So it's kind of milliseconds, and he is in Luxembourg, so his partner tenant might be near than mine,
Closer.
closer than mine. So yeah, maybe he did as well in OutSystems. I don't know if till the 5th place or not they did, but I'm proud of going only with OutSystems, and how far I can go with OutSystems, and I improved my skills, I guess, in agents, prompts, constructions. Okay, so that's the point.
Yeah, that's and I think Pedro asked about parallelism. So I did use parallelism. I forgot to mention that earlier in workflows where I had three events. So I went to the baby first, got the uh, I gave it a context, got the answer. I went to the town, got the riddle, and then I did the library, the decoding of the town puzzle, and the decoding of the baby as three parallel tasks. Actually, that's how I
Mm.
got a lot of the initial time save. Uh, Later on with Bill, when because I could not move ahead from Bill to the bank because Bill was taking multiple turns. But I did want to try out something else, but I didn't have much time for that. But yeah, I mean, this is something that allowed me to explore parallel events in workflows for OutSystems. Events did work, but like you mentioned, not necessarily would complete in the right order. So if you did
Mm.
not get the context, if you did not get in the first pass, you'd lose the context and then hit the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and answering your question, why I was able to finish it in one day,
I know.
6:30, is because when I was passing the day, I didn't pass to the midnight. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
I know that manually we needed to go to the midnight to move the day,
correct,
but
correct.
the API, it was not constraining the next day availability. So I just moved to 6 a.m. and that was the reason, I guess, for just day one and 6 off. Okay.
So one of the first single pass prompts that worked for me, which stopped working on day 2 or 3, was I just wrote have a vermouth, have a beer, have a whiskey, have a vodka, everything just one prompt and sent it to Bill. It worked for the first day or the second day, but I think I don't know if something changed in the background of the model prompt system prompt changed, but it stopped working and then it took multiple passes. But it was interesting for me to see. This was also one of those
I think
cases.
it may have to do whether or not they're consuming a model that has cache. So it's a
Ah,
pressure
okay.
test system. So if it gets to learn you're requesting a certain
Oh,
type of sense, it's part of the guardrails rails to learn about if you're trying to
right, right.
jailbreak a model. It depends
Yeah.
on that to
That's
learn from it.
interesting. That is
I
that
never
is
even
actually very
considered caching.
interesting.
But just to, I guess, defend a bit of the non-OutSystem solutions, I mean, for me, the path was very similar to you and what you've been telling so far. And then it got to a point that I was seeing Sushi Simba dominate the leaderboard, and I was getting very competitive. So I knew that it had to be another way. And also, uh, I guess the most important thing to mention is that my solution is not at all best practice compliant nor reliable, and that's part of the fun of it. Because in the OutSystems ecosystem, you're thankfully detained from doing some certain settings that might leave you at a high risk, and you cannot customize them for a very good reason. And that's part of the where the fun entered for me. So it started being more about how risky can it get to shave milliseconds in establishing the connections, and because it's simply something I and none of us hopefully get to do with our clients, right? So, so, so it was more so for me the fun of seeing, okay, when I don't need to be safe, how much am I saving on it? And then it derailed from that. But after I had a similar setting as you were describing, I moved to Postman because it was more easygoing for me, and I knew I could export my collection to JSON. And I wanted to play again with Python, so I asked Claude, please translate this collection to Python. And then, of course, then you need to be able to be a good peer reviewer in the age of generating AI code with AI, right? So I knew that I didn't want to use the request library. I started reading and documentation about things that I was out of touch with Python and guiding Claude to what I wanted to do and what I didn't remember how I was able to do myself. So, but then I think I need to give the finding lightning mode was thanks to Sushi Simba because I was seeing this. I see how the heck does he have 2 seconds in day 4? Like, is he trolling us? Is he trolling us by being able to get to day 4 and still managing 2 seconds? And at first, I spent a lot of valuable time thinking you were trolling us, but then I realized that that wasn't the case. So I understood that I needed to go farther with the parallelism because at that stage I was having more of a synchronous approach to the game, but all the Easter eggs were only being parallelized, not that final trick that you made me realize by putting Bill in the first day and then moving on to the challenges. But yeah, that was mainly it for me. I did not take stats because I was just obsessing in saving time and thinking about a new idea and testing it right away. I did bombarded the server. Yes, I did. And my solution was also not reliable. I guess it might have been like 30% reliable the last script because I needed to sacrifice reliability. If I waited to be sure that Bill and the baby had responded, that extra call for the wait was sometimes giving prejudicating me around like a 300 to 400 milliseconds for that extra wait, like the call for the wait itself and coming back. So I ended up sacrificing reliability at all, and I just play my odds and just like if you get to submit your answer and the codes have landed good, if not, not. So I have like a bunch of game attempts that were submitted with only 2 out of the 4 codes, 3 out of the 4 codes. So I just want to make this very clear for everyone that might watch this video. Like, my solution is not a good practice at all, coding wise. It's not accurate.
It
So,
is
but
about
this,
winning the prize. It is about
yes,
winning the prize.
and it was speed, and it was also more of a reflection on
Yeah,
how also
yeah.
like security and how using AI does infer in speed, right? I mean, it was a speed-based game, so it was very fun to learn about those shaving off mechanisms and how much we're protected by not having to worry about that when we're
Right.
using this platform to work, right? So, but overall, that was the fun for me. Oh,
No,
I didn't.
So
Yeah, the point. Sorry, I didn't. And I reach. I don't know if it's different, but without systems, it's kind. Even though the Easter eggs, you need to be in the context where the Easter egg is. So if you trigger the Easter egg in each piece, you will lost milliseconds. So when you trigger the Easter egg, you might already be in the next context, and I felt it. So one of my attempts that was success. I just triggered all the Easter eggs, okay, but I just took I don't know 4 or 5 Easter eggs because in the end I was not anymore in that specific context. Okay? It was a success attempt because Easter egg you don't need to be there or to it's not a valid puzzle situation, but I felt that it's kind of milliseconds stuff to be able to get all the Easter eggs at once in parallel. Okay, but again, I don't know how much time takes OutSystems to trigger the event.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's not instant. Okay, so that instant that Python has, OutSystems might not have at the moment.
that's part of the fun of wanting to have, because when you're running a script on a command shell, right, you can to see use those profiling commands where you can see specifically how your script is behaving in terms of latency. And it had been a while since I touched upon that, so that made the game for me. I'm sorry I came back last minute to defeat you.
No,
I had to
but
say it. I'm Argentinian. I needed to let it out.
absolutely. No, I mean,
But
you
yeah.
guys kept the game always out of reach. I mean, every time I put my head down and I said, okay, I got it done in 30 seconds. I know the leaderboard was stopped at about 20 seconds. I looked up and it's down to 4 seconds. So it seemed like I was always trying to hit a moving goalpost. But I mean, phenomenal stuff. And I think a lot of what you learned also down that process. I mean, one of the things that I think you and I both had the same parallel experience is that uh, that speed was achieved by sacrificing reliability, by sacrificing a lot of safeguards, right? So obviously, at some point, from an enterprise stack point of view, you want to be able to have a more reliable and more robust system. Here, the objective is different. It's a speed run, so you have different metrics to chase. Um, I have two very important questions, which for me will define the course of how I become a better OutSystem developer. One, where was the eighth Easter egg? I still don't know. I got the Easter egg in the playground.
in the school.
No, I got it in the school as well. I got the globe in the school. I got the
You-
playground. I
Didn't,
got
didn't
the.
you use the DevTools to check them?
No, look,
So
I
Maria
used
did.
the
Maria
DevTools and I
did
only
things.
found 4.
Did you get the book, Suvu? Did you
I
get the
found them
book
all.
on the library?
No,
There you
no,
go.
but
That's the
Yeah,
smallest one.
just
The
Control
book.
F the
I
DevTools, bro.
clicked. I went. So the way I found the Easter eggs was by manually clicking as many times and as
Really?
close as I could,
The
and that's how I found
library was difficult. I needed to
the
check
library
the
was
HTML,
difficult. Yeah,
and the
yeah,
other ones it's just try to click on something that
yeah.
But you
makes sense.
could find them all with just having the DevTools open, to be fair. Just HTML, check them, and it's kind of cheating a little
I
bit,
know,
I guess. But
I know. But I wanted to do it. So it was so every single time that I think the first time I did, I got 4 Easter eggs, and then someone got 6. I think it was Sushi Samba only. I think they got 6. Then there was someone who got 8, and I enjoyed finding the Easter eggs honestly a lot more than I would care to admit.
Let me say
But
something
yeah,
about the Easter eggs.
yeah,
For
yeah.
me, it had to be on the DevTools, because I was thinking, okay, if I was going to build the Easter eggs, I would put it only at a certain time in a certain place. And I wouldn't be able to test every single place
Right.
at every single instant.
yeah, I thought they
So-
did that as well, but they
Yeah.
didn't. But I thought that was a trick.
No,
but
we
it
were
was,
not that evil. We were not that evil.
No,
But
but I
that's a
think
good idea for the next game, by the way.
It is.
yeah,
But it's
I
very,
actually
it's very,
did think,
actually, it's very interesting that you say you use DevTools, because I was just thinking, and a lot of this code was completely open, but we did compress the code. I was gonna check because the code was compressed, right? The JavaScript.
No, I don't think.
No,
I
partly
use
maybe.
I don't
DevTools,
remember. Let me check.
and I
was
search
it?
for in the code for Easter egg.
But you didn't.
So I
No,
found
yeah,
And it's there.
I
Yeah.
found it as well, just in the DevTools. So I guess it's not compressed all the time, maybe. Or...
Okay, no, because so I used a packager, but I think I turned off the compression. But next time I'm gonna turn it on because people are pirates.
So I use DevTools, but
the
I was
SVG
looking-
as well.
that's what I was looking for. I was looking in the network tab for the SVGs.
So
So
out
The
of the-
SVGs also had the IDs,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
could
Well-
look at them.
regardless of the ID, like before I found the bank one, I was going through the network tabs because most of my time was spent in the Chrome debugger tools, and when I went to the bank, I saw there was a separate SVG for the key, so I clicked on the key, and that was an Easter egg. It's like, oh, cool, there's that one.
There was a
Yeah,
separate SVG for the key.
yeah.
Yeah, most of them.
So I think that was only for the bank though, because when the safe
No, the
opened,
flushing
the
had one.
SVG went away. Was it not for only
No.
the bank?
It was an element inside the SVG. What do you mean a separate SVG?
No, Like, I'll be happy to pull it up.
Yeah. Because that's not how I did it. So maybe it was just by accident that the key went there.
And
Well,
speaking of
that's
dev
how I found
tools,
most of the Easter
Next
eggs.
game will be so difficult.
I would like to
Yeah.
give you some other takeaways.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm
yeah,
here.
I think I do understand Rodrigo's master evil plan now is to figure out all the techniques you use
Yeah,
to
I was
make the
wondering,
next game harder.
Rodrigo, like about the takeaways of this whole challenge, right? I think like my takeaway was here is that OutSystems has limitations still, and that with this challenge we kind of showed it too obvious to the most of them. I think Nelson did a great job of showing that OutSystems can do a lot, but I think the
Mhm.
winners kind of proved the opposite a little bit, not on purpose, obviously.
Well,
But I mean, and
Well,
that's just one
yes
part.
and no.
But
it's
I have two
funny. So
parts.
so I got that feedback also from other people, and they were like, "Oh my God, this only served to prove that it's better to do things in a different way than OutSystems." And I said I disagree. I think a lot of people used OutSystems. Most of the players also did the whole thing just using either the things we provided or even just the game. And then there were a few crazy people, that's you, that that went all the way, especially and actually when I was talking, I was giving Maria's example of actually moving her code next to our
That is
zone
too-
which is why it's like going to
It's
the
crazy.
complete
No,
limit.
when she it's a brain break that is where is the
Yeah,
OutSystem server? I need to go near
Just
it.
for you to
So-
be
so-
sure, I have available 17 regions in Amazon. I tested in all of them instances to be sure that the one I chose was the closest one.
So this is something that a high frequency trader does. It's not
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that an OutSystems developer does.
True.
So the fact
True.
that we have this range of people, for me, it's a success, right? We have
Correct.
people like you that go all the way and are inspecting and looking at the network, understanding and bringing this to the edge. And then you have people that just use the platform and or like Nelson that's trying to push the platform to the limits
I
and
don't
all of that.
disagree with that, but it's what
And so I think
the
this
perception.
was amazing. I love this. It was
But
so
what do
good.
people see?
But-
That's what I'm wondering. What people see
Owen-
when they look at this.
But
What do
that's
they
also what
see?
I brought my solution not being neither best practice nor
Yeah.
reliable. Because if in traditional development, you need to pay for that and you need to pay for another developing doing that job.
Correct.
And
Correct.
here you're paying for an abstraction that secures that for you so you can leverage and go faster in different things. So I think that are different kinds of conversations. Sure, with high level coding, you can reach that kind of customization, but you will reach a bigger overhead in what you need to manage in your IT landscape.
Mhm.
So I think it's just there's room in the IT landscape for both, and what load code gives you is reliability in that enterprise
I like
setup.
that. Yeah.
Correct.
That's a
Correct.
really
And not
good
only
argument.
that, but you are part of this community. Even you are this
True.
amazing
Yeah.
people that
I
go
think-
all the
I
way, but
think-
you're still part of this community, and I
True.
think that stands for the richness of this community. So I was very happy.
I think that's the. I think that's
I-
that's. I see. Sorry, I see these again. I see these as a way. When you can build it in .NET, you can build it in Java, but you need to host it.
Yeah.
In some place, and to host it, you need to have a DevOps team to manage the hosting. Okay, so it's kind of a construction. I didn't see this challenge as okay. It's only all the way OutSystems is okay. I like OutSystems. Let me see what I can do. And I reached, as I told you, the Valentine's Day at 14, and I was one of those till 2 a.m. With my wife, just break my life. But I was that guy, and I reached that point where I posted a LinkedIn message that okay, I'm okay with that. I know that I will not win. I will not lose any more time on that, because even though I spend more time, that didn't mean that I could win. So
Yeah.
yes, 1,000 is great, 700 is great, 300 is great. The raffle is great, but in the meantime, it's more the experience, the learnings, the learnings and the takeaways. My takeaway is my community engagement since last year.
Yeah.
Okay, and the way that I can engage. It is true, Rodrigo. It is true. I've been part of 15 years not 15 years, but 10 years now of OutSystems community. But in terms of OutSystems work, 15 years. And this is the first time that or the last year, I interact with the community, the challenge. I change a lot of message with Subu, and the others. I change message with Maria as well, and we never met before. I think is how far can we go with this kind of challenge? Winning is good, but for me is how can I improve my mindset, my knowledge, and the next time, even though I don't win, I have one more takeaway from the last challenge.
Absolutely.
So
That's absolutely spot on, Nelson. I think the objective was to get the community engaged, and I think that we did 1,000%, right? I think that is what we achieved 1,000%. And like a lot of you guys mentioned, I think not everyone can be Johnny Blaze. Not everyone has the deed with the devil and can survive a car crash. But so for a lot of the enterprises, those guardrails, if they mean the difference between 5 seconds and 2 seconds, I think they'll happily take those guardrails for that additional reliability. I think that's where it adds a lot of value. And speaking of dev tools, I don't know how I missed it, and in fact I did mention this to I think Owen when he started his run, or maybe someone else it was. It was only 3 days before the challenge ended that I realized that the API spec is actually in the messages. I was looking at dev tools. I realized that 3 days before the challenge was about to end, that the API spec has always been in the messages. Did anybody else spot it before that?
No, so I knew that the APIs were there, but I was not able to reach it in terms of I tried to the endpoint and I'm not capable of, this is not working. A Swagger doesn't exist. How can I make it happen? Okay, and then let me use the payload and the response and point to the server. And was when yes, it will work. Okay, so I have the payload, I have the response, it will work somehow. But yeah, okay. So Maria, myself, who did the Node.js stuff?
Node.js?
So
Node.js,
I did.
yes.
I did
I did
Node.js
Node.
as well.
I did Node and I did Go.
Nice.
So and I by the way did not realize the messages were there either until after I already had everything built. But yeah, my path was kind of similar to Maria's. Initially it was building an OutSystems, trying the agents, then going to finding where I could skip using AI. One of the things that I care about is ESG, and AI is very heavy on the environment. So I was trying to see, do these really require AI, or can they be somewhat deterministic and calculated? So I quickly changed my agents to just not using AI at all and solving them programmatically. And that was very early in my journey, and it was pretty shortly after that I realized to get this really as fast as I want, I was going to need to just call the APIs directly. So I went through the Chrome debug tools and reviewed all of the API calls, skipped all the ones I didn't care about. Like if I didn't need the context to go somewhere, then I didn't make that call. But then I started really trying to optimize. So where could I introduce parallelism? And that's also when I kind of switched over to Go, because Go's way easier at parallelism. So with the Easter eggs, I would fire off all 4 requests, because I only found 4 of them immediately after I started the game, at the same time I was doing everything else, because those 4 at least didn't require the context.
But they stopped working.
Really didn't.
Maybe by the end they didn't work.
I reported that as a. I reported that vulnerability, so no one could exploit it, and then it became a bit harder. Yes.
Yeah, but I tried parallelizing anywhere that I could. So like with the baby, I would fire the request to the baby to start that process, give it a few milliseconds, and then immediately move to the next thing because I knew I'd get the response still at some point later, and then extract from that. So I kind of went that route. And in the end, I think I got it down to 11 seconds was the best that I could do. But it was like a 1 in 20 that my app finished. It was very long lines of Maria's. It was, you know, before the change went in that you had to go to the town hall to go to the clock tower to get that one. I was always going to go at the specific time that was the most optimal for the fewer API calls. And if I didn't get the key, then I just quit. And then after we had to go to the clock tower, I did the same thing. It's just I changed the time. So I went to the clock tower, and then I would always go to 6 o'clock because at 6 o'clock I could go to the clock tower, and then I could go to the bar after without changing the time. So one fewer API call. And if 6 o'clock wasn't the right time, I just quit. So it was extremely fragile, but it was a lot of fun, especially trying to find the right balance of when could I fire off an asynchronous call and how long did I have to wait for the API behind the scenes to update its context before I could switch without worrying about waiting for the response, then processing that later. So I apologize. I very quickly got out of OutSystems, but I was at one point going to try to build a fully agentic solution that just had access to the APIs and was going to just be like, hey, just figure it out. But I haven't had time to do that yet. Maybe we'll get there at some point. That will definitely not be the fastest, but
so you want to use one agentic AI that will use action calling, and we'll do so you can have the prompt step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Just call these.
I'm not going to give it the steps. I want it to play the game like I did the first time I played it.
Yeah.
And it'll be a like an overseer. I forget the exact name of the pattern, but like the overseer agent.
Yeah, the supervisory pattern. The supervisory
yes, thanks,
pattern.
supervisor. Yeah. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. So I did use tool calling for Bill, Nelson. The very first time I did that, I used tool calling for Bill where I just gave him the API. And so I was using Gemini Flash because I'd exhausted Gemini Pro.
If you want to talk about that, I spent money in ChatGPT. I didn't spend money in Gemini, but I just lost all of my credit in Gemini 2.5.
But I'll tell you this: if speed was not the metric, and I know that it is, and I've been trying to save up some money to get myself one of those NVIDIA Grace Blackwell machines, but I told you, I think I put it on the post as well. I used initially just to see the feasibility a lot of local models, including a quantized version of I believe it was DeepSeek Distill Qwen 4 billion, which was sort of a hybrid of both, and it did really well with the tool calling for Bill. It was able to solve it in a lesser number of tries. Of course, it's running on my laptop, which is like 5 years old with a 2 GB VRAM, but it was the prompt processing that took it more time. But if I had a decent setup, I think it would have done a better job than what Flash did. And that's how you know now that I had so many tokens left. I think where I have tried to do is try to use local models, open source models as much as possible. And I've found that if you can find the right model, for example, the function Gemma model, which is 270 million model, was also extremely effective at and very fast for Bill, as long as I had the prompt encoded in the action itself, right? So it knew how it was very good at calling the tool and doing it very efficiently. So I think there's a lot to explore, and that's one of the major differentiators that I see or strengths that I see in OutSystems, where you can bring your own model and gives you this variation between frontier models to open source model and open weight model. I think that is something that's very interesting to me, and that's something I'm looking to explore. We are way beyond time, but if there's anything else, I think I did want to touch upon he found just the right time to drop off. I was going to talk about what are the things that we would want to improve in our systems. That was just on cue. But all right, I think he will see the video anyways. For me, one of the things that is on my wish list is to see the workflow builder become a lot more intuitive, and I'm holding it to the standards that OutSystems has made me used to, right? So in your server actions, the way you can disconnect nodes and reposition them and reconnect them, it does not work in workflow builder right now. So when I was trying to optimize and move my nodes back and forth, I had to copy it, paste it, delete the old node, rename it because it broke a whole bunch of dependencies, which was extremely painful. So if there was one wish list for mine to make this better, I think it would be to bring in the same sort of drag drop functionality that we have in the OutSystems internal tool calling.
PPT?
Yeah, similar to BPTs, or even just your server logic. It's just there is just a lot of friction when you want to modify it.
Yeah,
While
I think,
building,
yeah,
it's not that much, but
I
when you're
think so.
modifying it, it is.
I think the ODC has a bit of improvements to happen related with O11. However, at the moment, I like more ODC than 11 because I'm working on ODC only. Still, I don't think that. Greg, thank you. Wrap up.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Owen. I think, yeah, I should go as well, but yeah, I don't want to work. Sorry, guys, if someone is watching this. No, seriously. I think their focus now is mentor. Okay, is mentor. How they can improve, because in my opinion, mentor is something that is beyond away of the final solution. Okay, when I turn this, I'm using cursor to build a full application or art to do changes. I don't have it in ODC. I cannot just be in my application and ask for a change. Okay, I need to refactor this screen. I need to do manually without using other tool that is we are using to do Java.net or Python. We can do it. So at the moment, my point of view is they are improving mentor and further. Maybe, and I don't see too many use case in terms of workflow. Yes, you can trigger workflow, but you can trigger event as well, and you'll work more or less as the same. You are mute, Pedro.
I was going to say, if you use workflow like a light BPT or something, then yes. But if you try to add in those human tasks, probably if you want to implement with events, you have to implement all the logic of the human tasks as well and everything. But I think one of the limitations of the workflow is that the editor is only online, right? It's on the browser.
Yes, correct.
And I experienced some of that as well. Like, for example, I was trying to select a bunch of nodes at the same time and delete them, and you can't. And
you can't.
It's very frustrating. Yes.
But that is something that you yourselves as champion, whoever is champion, can bring to table. Myself, I can bring as well someday when people, when they start to talk about the product and iterations and the improvements that we can do in the product. Workflow can be one of those that can be to the table. But again,
I do have a question for you guys that have more experience in ODC than I do, because for me with Workbench, I got to finally be more hands-on with ODC, because most of the projects I've been involved have been on 11. The only request I would have is that I want the remove and use dependencies button at the app or library level. I hate that I have to click every dependency manually. That one seems fairly easy. And why does it come by default with the whole OutSystems UI? It's an extra click I need to add to remove that extra weight. But that one's an easy one. But my question to you is that I'm not comfortable yet in ODC portal, namely because although I like the new wave of more minimalistic design, sometimes I feel like it feels more risky. Like I don't like when I'm configuring an app that I have a drop down that I can easily change between environments, and I'm making configurations in either production or dev, and I've dealt with way simpler scenarios in terms of factoring management in ODC yet. But even in those way more simple scenarios I've dealt with, I felt like I needed to be extra cautious while making configurations, and I couldn't measure whether it was me not being used yet, or is this something you guys also feel because of how it's set up?
I think you need to be careful only when you have that specific application already deployed in further environments. Okay, so when you have that application in development, maybe you don't need to care about. As soon as you deploy it, in the imagine scenario, you are setting something on test or production. Okay.
Yeah.
But then you want to do all in dev. Okay, and somehow you move between pages, and when you come back, production's still there. Okay, so you need to be careful on that. Okay, in Odyssey, I like my at the moment I have a bit of constraints on the Odyssey portal. I rather prefer that than open different tabs in browser to open different servers. I rather prefer. We had that constraint in Service Center. It was not responsive at all. Lifetime, it was not responsive. ODC still a bit better, but it's not yet there. So when I was trying to trigger the timer, or when I was trying to change the schedule through my mobile phone, so that's why I was always on the score, because I was on my mobile phone and I was triggering these using ODC on mobile. But yeah, so.
And to that point, I think Pedro mentioned about the workflows being editable only online. I tried to edit it on my tab because I didn't have my laptop with me. On the tab, the finger gestures don't work. I mean, a lot of the finger gestures don't work. So I'm trying to add a note, but it's just not happening. So yeah. I think there is a fair bit for them to improve there. There is one interesting fact. Probably you guys already know this. I did not. So for long timers, we had a pattern where we would have a break timer or a kill timer variable that you would use. It doesn't work in ODC.
Why not?
So the reason it doesn't work in ODC is because settings don't work the way site properties do. Site properties were more like records in a table.
Yes,
no, they were records in a table, but this is a configuration file. So it gets cached the moment the timer starts.
Really?
So it does not change until the timer is fully executed. So you can't use settings.
We had an issue with a customer in production because of that. So
I came across this on a medium.
So we need to use feature toggle.
We moved on to feature toggles precisely because of that.
Okay, I didn't know. Yeah.
Thank
you. Yeah.
All right. I think I mean, if there's any other closing comments, I speak for all the others who are on the call as well. This challenge, I mean, I had a lot of fun doing AI versus zombies, but every single individual on this call I have spent, I have tried to irritate you, I've tried to antagonize you, I've tried to keep you up late at night asking for inputs and comments, but it was just a blast doing this challenge. And thank you again for taking out the time for this session.
Thank you for putting it together and making sure we go forward with this.
No, this has been fun. Thank you so much.